If you are running meta ads and not getting the results you want, it might not be your product. It is likely the structure and the way you're setting up your campaigns. In this video, I'm going to break down 5 ways you can get better conversions on Facebook and Instagram Meta. Let's dive in. Point number 1 is consolidating your ad sets. This is important because if you have an ad account with tons of different campaigns that are running, trying to target all these different audiences, you're probably doing things the wrong way. Historically, we used to do that. Traditionally, we'd have so many different campaigns running at one time, but you no longer need to do that. You should consolidate your campaigns. And according to Meta, consolidating similar ad sets can lower your CPA by up to 18%. And that includes combining ad sets that have the same creative, avoiding overlapping audiences. This is an important one. Let's just say you're trying to target construction workers and plumbers, okay? Very general example, but if you're targeting construction workers and going after that interest of construction or job title has to do with construction, there's a good chance plumbers are in that same ad group. So if you have a separate ad set for plumbers and construction workers, you might be overlapping your audiences. One way to avoid that is to do exclusion. So if you're targeting people that are in the construction niche, excluding people that are in the plumbing niche. If you want to exclude plumbers but only target construction workers, you can imagine how this can fall into a lot of different industries. So just avoid overlapping audiences to make the greatest impact. All right, number 2 is use mobile friendly video. If you're just relying solely on those landscape videos, you've got to get up into 2025 because you're doing things wrong. Nothing wrong with landscape videos, but you definitely need to be combining those ads into an ad set with real sized videos as well. Let me show you what I'm talking about. All right, so when you go to create a campaign, simply you're going to add the media, you're going to add a video. And when you go through this process, what you're going to do is make sure that if you have a landscape video such as this, you do want to make sure that when you choose that video that you're going to want to optimize it for each different placement. And here you can see vertical. That is likely, this specific video here is likely not going to show in a Reels feed simply because of the size of the video that I'm uploading. So in this case here, I would actually replace it with a Reel version or Reel story version of that video. And I would put that in there instead. Now I have one that's optimized for Reels and stories and great. And I would always crop when you can, okay, wherever it makes sense. Make sure you're not cutting off text and such, but definitely crop to make sure you're filling each of the vertical, square, and horizontal placements. Now, in this next recommendation from Meta, I'm going to challenge it. I'm going to have to challenge it because what Meta suggests is doing broad plus custom audiences, okay? I love custom audiences. Broad targeting, the jury's out for that one because with Meta recommending broad targeting for best results, what that means is just targeting location, age, gender, and have a 2 million plus audience size. What happens here is you will typically get people that are not your ideal customers. I know Meta wants you to open it up as much as possible so Meta can decide who to put your ads in front of. But when you do that, you typically don't get the best users that have a tendency to convert. This is why I lean into choosing an objective for what you actually want people to do. So if you want people to watch a video and you're really focused on brand awareness, then choosing the objective of video views with a large audience might be good. However, if you're going for conversions and sales, a broad audience might not be the best idea because simply you want to target people that have a tendency to take actions that you want them to take. So if you have a high ticket item, let's say you have high ticket watches that you're selling, you might not want to target an audience, and I'm generalizing here, that has an interest in Walmart or has an interest in coupons or is cheap. You want somebody that is into items that are luxurious, right? So you might want to choose things like Louis Vuitton, for example, and exclude people that like Walmart, right? So having a broad audience has its advantages if you want cheap cost clicks, for example, but in terms of conversions, having a broad audience might not be the best user that you're getting your ads in front of. So I think that's something to keep in mind. Having those custom audiences is definitely something you need to do. You need to ensure that you're getting in front of those people that are landing on your website, getting in front of people that watch 75% of a video, getting in front of people that have clicked on your content and taken action in your content and can actually recall your ad. These are important people to get in front of with your custom audiences. Email list, another great example. A lot of people have an email newsletter that goes out there and gets 20% open rates. What about the other 80%? Why not hit them up on Meta with a very specific targeted ad? And even with the Advantage Plus tools that Meta recommends to let the algorithm do its job, I'm not a huge fan of it. I like having more control over my campaigns and more control over the users that are seeing my content. That's my opinion. Facebook ad reps out there would disagree with me, but through the experience that I have and the results that I'm getting, I'm seeing much better results when we turn off the Advantage Plus tools. Now, the next Meta suggestion is test everything. Now, I would have to agree with Meta on this one, is doing A/B split testing to test which calls to action are working best, which videos, images, copy. This is very important. Now, you should only test one variable at a time. So let's say you have different graphics. You should always test all of those different graphics with the same ad copy. Or you can do dynamic testing as well. That's another one I like to do, is dynamic testing, meaning you're testing multiple ad copies at the same time. Now, here's an example of why it's so important to test different variations of text and headlines, right? Because if you take a look here, you can see this is just an example of a campaign. Meta preferred to put majority of the traffic to send it to this specific copy here. Okay. We don't need to go over the copy and dissect that, but my point is this, is that it's sending traffic with this specific ad copy because the cost per result is 20 cents per landing page view, which you can see is outperforming all of the rest. Now, it's another question as to whether or not this specific ad copy is generating a conversion, right? So sometimes that's where you have to look at the amount of conversions that are coming from something, even though Meta is sending traffic to it. Because in this objective, I'm asking Meta to send me the most amount of landing page views as possible at the lowest cost. And it's doing that. It's sending this ad copy. But again, is that ad copy converting that traffic into an actual sale? That's a different topic and a different story. So that's why it's good to monitor this, because there are some other ones here that are performing decent as well. This one's 31 cents, and here's a totally different ad copy, right? So, but it is important to test, analyze, and review ever so often, because again, this specific one that's performing best here is inevitably going to saturate, and we'll have to switch it up, change ad copy, or prioritize a different ad copy. Now, last but not least, number 5 is pay attention to ad policy and compliance tips. This is important. Third-party algorithm, whatever you want to call it, is going to flag certain ad copy that gets triggered with certain words like you, your. Sometimes when you use that in an ad copy, it's going to get flagged, especially when you're using it to imply personal attributes like age, ethnicity, and beliefs. You got to make sure you avoid that ad copy at all costs. Also, avoid misleading claims such as unrealistic weight loss or income. If you're a real estate agent, you very well know you cannot mention anything or target income or mention income or anything like that in your ads. This is why real estate is a special ad category for that reason. So you got to make sure that you be careful with the copy that you're using, especially if you're any sort of a if you're in the massage space or something like that. When you're using it, or in the wellness space for that matter, if you're using certain words that talk about, being fit and weight loss, feel rejuvenated, that one's not bad. But there's certain words that are triggered by the algorithm, and you'll notice that a lot of times you will not be able to get those ads past or through that algorithm or that automated check. Okay, so just make sure, be aware of the ad copy that you're using. Sometimes you just have to give it a manual push and have it go through that ad check again for it to be approved. And a lot of times it will, but just keep in mind, being aware of the ad policy and compliance stuff is just going to avoid a lot of headaches later on for you. All right, so if you found this video helpful, please give a like and subscribe to this channel. Drop a comment below. I always check the comments and I will respond. I promise you that. So if nothing else, thanks again, and we'll see you soon.